Hello, hi there. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna wait just a few minutes so a few more people can join us, and then we'll start talking about our home and the subconscious mind. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna wait just a few minutes before I start sharing about our home and the subconscious mind. I want to have some time for people to join us. Thank you all for being here. If y'all are not signed up for my free tribe membership, go ahead and do so now, and you'll get my letter later on today, and you get a free course and an ongoing discount. So anyway, I'll just plug that in. And so let's chat a little bit about our home and our subconscious mind and why it's important. And if you have any questions, this is just going to be a casual chat. So feel free to ask any questions as I'm chatting, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Okay. My son is asleep in the house right now, and I have a little house. It's about 1,100 square feet. And so you can hear anyone sneeze in the house or whisper even. So I'm outside and it's a beautiful day, and you might hear some background noise. You might hear my chickens chatting away. So if you do, enjoy. So the subconscious mind and our home, why are they important? So one of the things I want to clarify when I speak to the subconscious mind, it's that huge part of our mind that's responsible for 90 to 95% of the background chatter, what we're not consciously aware of, okay? And it's a huge part of what's happening within our mind. And so what we want to do is we want to make the subconscious more conscious. And it sounds so mysterious, and it sounds like it's this unfathomable thing. Like, how do we make what's unseen or unheard heard? And one of the great ways we do it is we look at the space of our home and we look at our self-perception. Okay, so our self-perception, much of our self-perception happens within our subconscious mind. And so when we start playing around with our self-perception, we're getting more clues into what's happening in the subconscious. Now, how is our home related to our subconscious mind? Our home holds the liminal space between our outer life and our inner world, okay? So we have our outer life, and so if you imagine the front door, and this is sort of the gatekeeper for what's happening in our outer life, and then what's going on within our inner world. And we experience both wherever we are, right? As long as we're having thought, conscious and subconscious thought, this is what's happening, especially with the subconscious mind, what's happening in our inner world, okay? But we also have our feelings, what's going on in our body and what we're feeling. So when we look at our home, room by room, we get a glimpse into what's happening with our subconscious mind, which is really fascinating, right? So we want to get curious about our home, and we want to get curious about what's happening within our subconscious mind. And so I have a few questions that I wrote down that I want to ask you. And these are questions for you to contemplate for yourself. When you're at home or when you're by yourself out in nature, contemplate these questions. Because what we want to do is we just want to bring our awareness, our curiosity, and our intention into our home, but also with our self-perception. Okay, so what does my home communicate to me about myself and my life? So be your own private investigator and look around your home with different eyes and pretend you're a private investigator and you're trying to learn more about you by looking at your home. And what story does your home tell you about you? And look at the items in your home. What do they tell you about yourself? What do they remind you about you. And this is where we start to play around with your self-perception. Okay? Oh, someone just said they just started purging all of their belongings. Okay, well, first of all, I just want to tell you, you touched on a huge topic that I want to talk about. One, it's great to purge your belongings. One of the things I recommend is looking at everything in your home and ask yourself, do I like it? Or better yet, do I love it? Do I use it? And does it support my goals, my ideals, and my intentions? Okay? So, and remind me, if I don't talk about belonging, it's a really important part of this talk that I want to touch on. So I'm so glad you mentioned that word. Okay, so back to the questions, looking at your home. What does my home communicate to me about myself and my life? Does it fit? Is it aligned with what I want? And does it feel good? And then when you do that, also ask yourself, what's my self-perception? What's my relationship with me? What do I think about me? How do I identify who I am? What do I think about myself? And does it fit who I know myself to be? Do I like my self-perception? Does it make me feel good? And is it aligned with the person I want to become, the person I know myself to be? Okay, so those are just some questions to think about, okay? Because our home is like a projector. It's perpetuating our past, it's perpetuating right now, and it's also informing our future. And it's informing our self-perception, okay? So we want to get really clear about what's happening with this language between my home and my subconscious mind, and what is it perpetuating, okay? So just saying hello to the folks who've just joined us. We're talking about home and the subconscious mind. Let's see. All right. And if you have any questions, pop in and I'm happy to answer them. We're just having a casual, fun Sunday morning conversation. For those of you who are already on Monday, thank you for being here. Okay, so our home holds this liminal space, right, between our outer life and inner world. We have a certain persona and a certain identity that we're playing when we're out in the world. And that is very different often from how we feel when we're at home. We have this sense of belonging. And so that brings us to what makes home different than any other place. And it's this sense of belonging, right? When we're at home, we feel like we belong there. Well, we have two homes. I want you to consider this, okay? Consider where you live, your residence, one of your homes, okay? Your residence is your primary home. But actually, where you live in the space of your mind and body, this is really our primary home, okay? So we want to make sure this sense of belonging is happening when we're in the physical location of our home. But what's even more important than that is that we feel a sense of belonging within our own self. And that might sound obvious, but when our self-perception is not aligned with our true nature, it's really hard to have this sense of belonging, right? And does that make sense? Well, y'all give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you. And if you're tracking with me, give me a thumbs up. If I'm losing you, then give me a thumbs down. And this is a way that we can make our exchange a little bit more dynamic and connected, since I'm not seeing your faces here. So when our self-perception is who we see ourselves to be, and it's our relationship with ourselves. But here's the tricky thing. There's two aspects of our self-perception. Great, thank you for the thumbs up. So there's two aspects of our self-perception. We have our external self-perception, and this is how we identify who we are based on external circumstances, okay? So it's our upbringing, it's our role in the world, it's our relationship with others. So this is one way that we create our self-perception, what we do, who we're in relationship, and how we came to be who we are. Now, the other part of our self-perception is our true nature. It's who we are regardless of the external circumstances. And so we have a self-perception that's defined by our external environment, but we also have a self-perception that's defined by our inner environment, who we know ourselves to be. The problem happens when there's a big gap between the two, when there's a gap between who we know ourselves to be and what our identity is, and the role and the self that is created from our external environment. Sorry, that was a little messy. Let me see if I can clean that up a little bit. So when there's a gap between our identity and who we've built ourselves up to be. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just when there's a gap between who we know ourselves to be on the inside and who we've made ourselves, how we've defined ourselves based on our external environment. Okay? So we want to make sure those two are aligned. Now, let me get back to belonging. So the most important place for our belonging is with ourself. So when our self-perception and how we define ourselves is aligned with who we know ourselves to be, then we have this greater sense of belonging within ourselves. And so our inner home is where we want to make sure, like, that's the place we want to curate first. It's really important that our physical home, where we live, really reminds us of who we really are, okay? So often when you have a designer come into your home, they want to bolster, and this might not be their intention, but it's to create an environment that looks good. We want to have this magazine-worthy home, and that's great for the external environment. That's great for the external world to see who we are. But we really want our home to encourage and support and inspire and empower the person we know ourselves to be. Okay? So I digressed a little bit, and that's why I take notes. Does anyone have any questions? And if you're with me and you're following and tracking what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. And if I'm ever confusing you and it seems like I just need to, clear up what I'm saying, give me a thumbs down, okay? And I won't take that personally, like you don't like what I'm saying, but it'll just help me stay on track. Okay, so let's see. We're talking about the power of home and the subconscious mind. My dog is chasing the chickens around a little bit. So I'm just going over my notes, and because I want to make sure I stay on track. So I'm just going to read this so I don't just leave you there hanging. So we have our belonging, and this is our true home. This is our greatest need. If we don't have a sense of belonging, then we lose our, hi Natalie. If we don't have this sense of belonging, then we don't have a reason to thrive, okay? So our primary need is this sense of belonging. And so we want to make certain that our home, our physical home, reinforces this sense of belonging. But what's primary to that is we want to make certain that our self-perception creates this sense of belonging, because this is our first and primary home. So let's see. I'm going to read my notes because I don't want to get off track. And then for those of you who've just joined, I'll go over what I've shared. So our belonging begins at home with our relationship with ourself, and that begins with our self-perception and how we manage the gap between our identity and our true nature is of primary importance. Okay, so who we identify ourselves with out in the world and who we know ourselves to be is probably the most important thing in our life. And our perception and how we translate our world into meaning is really important. And that's why the space of our home is so important. So think of your home as playing recordings. Our home is playing a recording of what, I want to say this in the right way. Our home communicates a language to our subconscious mind. And so how we interpret everything in our home into meaning is communicating with our subconscious. And when I speak to our subconscious, it's basically our perception, how we are perceiving the world and how we're perceiving ourselves. And so how we are making sense of the world and our circumstance. And what our home does is our home helps us reprogram that so it communicates more of what we want. And we can do that room by room in our home because each room in our home communicates to different areas of our life. And so if we want to clean up our self-perception, and if we want to make the subconscious more conscious, then we can look at our home and the programming that our home is communicating with our subconscious. And this is why our home is so profound and holds so much potential for our life. And so we can work this on deep levels with our subconscious. And hi Paisley, or we can just work this really simply without thinking a lot about our subconscious, and we're still going to be accessing the subconscious mind. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure there's nothing in our home that is bringing up a bad memory or an uncomfortable memory, thought, or feeling. Okay, so if you have anything in your home that brings up a negative feeling, and that could be a dripping faucet, okay, that could be a picture from an event that was a beautiful picture, but it brings up an uncomfortable memory. If that is in your home, that is toxic clutter. Okay, so if there's anything in your home that brings up a negative feeling, a negative memory or emotion, this is toxic clutter and you don't want it in your home. We want our home to inspire and empower who we are and our life. And there's a way to do that. And what happens is, over time, these subtle changes are going to impact the neural pathways of our mind. And so we're going to slowly reprogram the subconscious into the programs that we need to hear. And that's what the mental reset is all about. It's going room by room through our home and at the same time accessing these different elements of our subconscious mind so that we can make the subconscious more conscious. So if you're interested in learning more about the power of your home and how to make the subconscious more conscious, then I recommend you join me on the mental reset. And if you sign up for the mental reset before August 1st, I'm going to throw in 12 weeks of group coaching with me for free, which normally it's $220 a month. And so for 12 weeks, you'll get that for free. So that's like a $660 value. I also want to plug in about my integrity pricing model. And I believe that the American method of exchange is flawed, and it's probably universally. And so what I am doing is, if anyone is interested in working with me or any of my courses or products and the price is out of reach for you, then I have a formula so that we can find the right price, and it's called integrity pricing model. So if you're interested in taking any of my courses and the price is out of reach, let me know and I'll share with you my secret formula, and we'll get you in there, because if anyone's called to this work, I don't want you to miss out on it just because of the price. So I want to see, does anyone have any questions about home, and the subconscious mind? Hi there. Thanks for being here. Does anyone have any questions at this point about the power of home and the subconscious mind and what I'm sharing about self-perception? Because I've gone through everything and I just want to see if anyone has any questions. And if not, then I'll do a quick recap of what we just spoke about. Okay, so here's one thing that I'm asking. If you're following me and if things I'm saying make sense, please give me a thumbs up. If I'm losing you and you're confused and you want me to explain a little bit further, give me a thumbs down. I won't take the thumbs down personally. I just want to gauge the conversation and have more interaction. So I'm going to give a summary of what we just spoke about. So the power of home and the subconscious mind. So you have two homes. We have our residence where we live, but we also have where we reside in our mind. And this is actually more of our primary home, our mind, because we have 50,000 to 75,000 thoughts every day. So there is a lot happening in this space of our mind. And so what we want to do, and the thing you need to know about your mind is 90 to 95% of those thoughts that are happening constantly are happening in the subconscious mind. And so that means the majority of our thoughts we're unaware of. And so they're really programming our life. And so a lot of this has to do with our perception and our self-perception. And how can we access what's subconscious? How can we do that? And one of the ways we do that is through our home. For a couple of reasons. One, our home is a reflection of our life. Our home perpetuates what's happening now in our life, and it's communicating a story about our past. And that's if we're unaware of this, okay? But once you become aware of the language your home communicates, then you have this new power because you get to curate your space to communicate the messages that you want your subconscious receiving. Okay, so this is a really exciting shift because we're tapping into a new landscape for accessing a part of our mind that we've formerly not had access to. And we get to choose what kind of nutrition we're sending our subconscious, what kind of information we're planting in these recordings so that we can move closer toward what we want. And here's the key, with greater ease. Okay. So if you're interested in this, I highly encourage you to join the mental reset because I go into this at length and we spend 12 weeks redesigning your home so that we can remind your subconscious. And if you sign up by August 1st, I'm going to throw in 12 weeks of group coaching with me for free, which is a $660 value. And if any of this is out of reach, I would love for you to ask me about my integrity pricing model, okay? Because I'm changing the way Americans our method of exchange. Okay, so it's the integrity pricing model. So if you're interested in it, let me know. Okay, so back to power of home and subconscious. If y'all are with me, give me thumbs up. If y'all get confused, give me thumbs down, and I'll try to clear things up. So our self-perception is so important because our self-perception is the lens through which we see the world. And we want to ask ourselves, is my home communicating what I want? Does my home make me feel good? Is my home, now nothing can make us feel good, right? Is my home supporting feeling good? And then we want to ask, does my self-perception feel good? Do I like the way I communicate with myself? Do I like the way I see myself? And there's a difference between who we see ourselves to be from our inner knowing versus the inner chatter, okay? And this is the gap where our discomfort is. The farther we live in our mind from our inner knowing, the more uncomfortable we are. So we want our self-perception to be aligned with our inner knowing, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? And we can use our home to change our self-perception. Okay? So, is everyone with me? Does anyone have any questions? Now, someone brought up belonging at the beginning of the call. Our belonging, and I just love that word. I think out of all the words in the world, I think belonging is my favorite. Our home is where we belong. Okay, so it doesn't matter where your home is. It doesn't matter what your home looks like. The most primary thing is that you feel a sense of belonging when you're in a physical place. Okay, and it can be lots of places. It doesn't have to be one. But you do want to feel like you belong when you're in your primary residence. And you have two primary residence. In your external world, you have the place you call home. In your inner world, this is your true home. This is where we want to feel a sense of belonging before anywhere else. If we don't feel a sense of belonging within ourselves, then we don't feel belonging anywhere else in the world. And is that a true statement? I have to check in with myself. I think it's a true statement. I think that it's really important that we have this sense of belonging with ourself first. And the thing is, there are a lot of factors that go into that, right? There are these factors of our upbringing. If we never felt unconditional love, it's going to be much harder to get to this sense of belonging. And anyway, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now because I want to stay on track, and it's really easy for me to get off track. But just think about that. Think of your sense of belonging and your self-perception. And I think I did just like touch the tip of a big iceberg with saying our sense of belonging is where everything begins, because it's also the beginning of our heroic journey, right? Like our own sense of belonging is where we meet a lot of our inner demons too. Okay, so let's just pin that for another conversation and something to contemplate, because it is down the rabbit hole of self-perception and our inner home. But let's get back to the power of our home and subconscious mind. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like I'm ending it on like a serious rabbit hole. I'm going to go back to my notes and reread them just to sort of bring us back and to put a bookend on this conversation. For those of you just joining, we're finishing up, but I am going to record this so that people can go back and listen. So we're talking about the power of home and the subconscious mind. And so we want to start by bringing our awareness and our curiosity and our intention to both our mind and the place where we live. And the truth is, our mind and our home are our two homes. We occupy two homes. And if one is in disarray, the other one is going to be a mess. Okay? So we want to ask ourselves, what does my home communicate to me about myself and my life? And does that feel good? Do I like it? Is it aligned with what I want? And then we want to ask ourselves about our self-perception, because how we perceive and our self-perception sets the lens for how we experience our entire world. And so we want to get curious and ask, is my self-perception accurate, or is my self-perception, is it skewed? Is the lens, am I seeing through a lens that isn't really me, isn't aligned with my true nature? Because our self-perception is defined by our external environment. And we want our self-perception to be more aligned with our inner world, okay? Who we really are. So ask yourself, and this has to do with self-talk, is my self-perception, how does it feel? Does it fit who I know myself to be? Does it feel good? Is it aligned with who I know myself to be? And our home holds the liminal space between our outer world or our outer life and our inner world. And so we want to make sure our home is communicating and reinforcing what we know to be true about ourselves. It doesn't necessarily have to be perpetuating the erroneous self-perception we have. We don't want that. When we have things in our home that are perpetuating this erroneous self-perception and making us feel badly about ourselves, that's toxic clutter. We want to get that out of our space. And so we want to ask, what does my home and my self-perception have to do with my life? Or a better question is, how might my home and my self-perception help me shift my life to create more of what I want, more inner peace, more inner wisdom, and greater ease? Because when our self-perception is aligned with our true nature, everything in our life flows better. Our home is going to feel better. Our life is going to feel better. I think I'm going to end it there. Does anyone have any questions? We sort of went all over the place today, and I feel like it's probably time to close the call. I'm outside because my 15-year-old is inside sleeping, and I feel that breakfast is calling. It's time to make breakfast. I hope all of you have a lovely day. I really appreciate you joining me. If you have any questions about this call, feel free to DM me. I also invite you to join the tribe. It's my free membership group. There's a free intro course in there and ongoing discounts to all of my products. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that, Surf Tech. And what else do I want to share? Oh, if this work interests you at all, I know the end was a bit of a ramble, but the mental reset, if you like, this is serious. It's profound work. If you're interested in this, it's 12 weeks, and I have decided that beginning August 1st, for anyone who signs up by August 1st, I'm going to throw in my group coaching for 12 weeks for free. And it's over $600 value. And I also want to mention, so I would love for you to join my mental reset program. It will change your life. Like, I know that without a doubt. It will change your life in beneficial ways, which doesn't mean it won't be uncomfortable at times, because it will. And if any of my products are out of reach financially, ask me about my integrity pricing model. I feel like the American method of exchange and value of exchange is off, and I have a way that I've been wanting to put out in the world for a long time, and it's called my integrity pricing model. So thank you so much for being here. I am going to record this call. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, please reach out to me, and have a beautiful day.